It's something that'll change the world and human life as we know it.
He knows. He's seen the light.
When Monty talks, it's painful.
Monty, you have been so instrumental in kind of pointing me in the right direction.
It was about looking at your character defects in spirituality.
It's the integration of clinical practices with the 12 steps.
It's an absolute pleasure. He certainly knows a lot of people. He's got a lot of energy, and sometimes when you don't have so much energy, he picks you up and carries you.
The Monty Man there certainly helps.
This is one of the places that is about the business of the solution.
The views expressed on this special broadcast of the K-12 radio show do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. KHLT is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Now here's that guy who's getting less popular minute by minute. Your host, the Monty Man.
Well, greetings, everyone. I am the Monty Man here at Take 12 Recovery Radio. And as promised, we are producing for you so you can download, keep them, share them, burn copies of them, and play them for your friends in recovery. The promises of each and every step of the 12 step, because each step comes with its own set of promises. And you asked for it. So we are making it available for you to download. Here is the edited version of the promises of Step 2, with no commercials, no games, no trivia, no closing song, just the topic. Now, these were recorded back in 2015 when we were using the MXL 990 microphones. Good microphones, but not the top of the line. Because of some very generous sponsorship, Patrick LeBeau, Roger McDermott, and others, we had been able to upgrade to the Shure SM7B. That's why you're getting the sound quality you're getting now. So bear with us on these recordings from 2015, but this show and the ones coming up are vital for your recovery if you're recovering from alcoholism or drug addiction. I promise you, you're going to get a ton out of this. So here is the promises of Step 2 as we join the conversation with Marv R. and my sponsor, Bruce H. The promises associated with the second step. What does Step 2 say, Bruce? What's it read?
Came to believe in a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity.
Okay. So when we're talking about the promises that are associated with this step, we're not saying that they are necessarily going to come true if you do this step. These are just promises associated in the writings in the big book on this step. And I was going to actually introduce number one, but I think I'm going to let Bruce do that because we talked off the air and we both had the same one here. You know what I'm referring to?
No.
Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main objective is to enable you. Now, we talked about there's two different places in the big book that talks about what's the main purpose of the book. There's a place that talks about in one of the introductions. It talks about the purpose of this book. The purpose of this book is to share with you precisely how we've recovered, how, all these people have recovered from alcoholism. But the main objective, and this is why I don't want people to get confused, is in Step 2. It says its main objective is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem.
Yeah, and the method by which they do that is precise.
That's the method, is precisely. And so they show you precisely how to do that. But what a promise to show you, precisely how this power can come into your life and solve this problem.
They say, I like the way you put that. I wouldn't have done that way.
Uh-huh.
That's crystal clear to me.
So again, we're not talking about they, she, it, or they. We're talking about, we're not talking about the ocean. We're not talking about electricity.
Well, if you go back to the step, we're talking about a power that can restore you to sanity.
Yeah.
Not sobriety.
Not sobriety.
So It's something that has to happen, you know. That I think is pretty powerful stuff, you know.
You know, Marv, you mentioned last week that many folks, when they first arrive into the rooms of the 12-step support meetings, for instance, that in this process of becoming willing and all that kind of thing, that they're not necessarily always ready to take this whole thing, you know, lock, stock, and barrel, right? I mean, they're hearing stuff sometimes for the first time. Perhaps they've heard it before, maybe out of context, in context, who knows? But what would you think if you walked into the rooms and you heard somebody say that, you know, welcome, we are about helping you discover a power that can help solve your problem. Is that good news?
Well, if I think back to when I first walked into the rooms, I wouldn't have believed him.
Right.
Maybe.
You know,
even though I'd have been skeptical.
Even though you were searching for help.
Right.
It may have been too good to be true.
Well, I came in a little different than most people. I came in the rooms to support an alcoholic wife in complete denial about my own alcoholism. So that question's a little hard because I was being a good guy.
Oh, okay.
I was there supporting my wife.
And this is not an uncommon thing.
No.
For people to come in as support for the other guy or gal.
Yeah. And it took me 6 years, really, of continual going to meetings and stuff to finally figure out that I may not know how to spell it, but I are one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and actually, I was on a spiritual road when I went in there. But what I was thinking about when you first asked me the question, I remember years ago, this lady had the hams bear for her power greater than herself.
Oh, the hams
bear.
Yeah. What is it? The beer of sky blue waters or something like that? Yeah. The hams bear.
And I was fairly new at the time when I first run into her at the meetings and stuff, and I thought, wow, this is really off the wall, you know. But it goes along with the way I think about this stuff. She wasn't capable at that time to have the idea of God, because listening to her story, she'd never had that availability to it through other people, a church, or whatever.
So she was grasping on to whatever she could. And
yes. Yeah. Years later, I hadn't seen her for a long time. I run into her again at a meeting, and her power was definitely God.
Mm-hmm.
She had, through experience and time, come to believe in God. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
So at least in the beginning, she understood that it couldn't be her, even if the hams bear was really her. I mean, if you want to talk psychologically,
yeah.
But she at least she got that piece.
Yeah.
To begin, right, Bruce? That's that word, right? Again, to make a beginning.
Well, as I'm listening to you guys talk, and I hope that we're hearing what Marv is talking about here. It's. I don't think Marv is that unusual, and I do think that there are people that come in here and their God is the hams bear. But one of the most remarkable things about this is, let me ask this question first. I'd like to know if this lady had used the precise method by which to take a look at that.
I don't think I know what the precise method is because everybody's so different.
Okay. It's not that everybody's so different. The precise method is the steps.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like she may very well have at some point, because she actually developed a relationship with the Creator and not the hams bear at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So here we are, and this woman has that. You know what I mean? And
right.
And I'm of the belief she could start there. If it makes sense to her, she could start there, but she can't stay there.
Right.
See? And she obviously didn't. But what AA has to present and what we're not doing it because people become meeting reliant is the steps. You see what I mean? That's the precise method that we have to take a look at this thing. And so if there's people that come to me and they're really confused on this God issue, they're upset with him. And they think because they're upset with him, they don't want to turn their life over to him and that there's nothing we can do about that. And I says, well, we're going to do the steps around God.
Yeah, you bet.
See, same way as if I'm angry with Marv, I'm going to do the steps around Marv. See?
Right.
Well, let's do the steps around God and find out why we're angry. See? And sometimes when you do that, you understand that it's your own stuff. And you're just putting it on God. You're blaming God. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's not that God's not hard to understand. He is. He does some pretty strange stuff in my book.
Well,
but
here
he's also wonderful.
And just so you know, for the people that have, and bless your hearts, thank you. There's been some people that have posted on our Facebook page even more promises than what we've discussed here. And one guy just went on and on and on forever on promises that are associated with step one. And he was right, and I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But there's no way in the typed word on a social networking site you have time to type all that stuff. We don't have time to pack them all in an hour show. So don't misunderstand. We're not by no means touching on every single one. What we want the listener to understand is that each step has promises. And don't limit yourself thinking that the 9-step promises is where there's the only place there's promises. There's promises throughout this book. Well, in number 2 here, I love this. Now, this is conditional. It says, we found that, and this is on page 46 of the big book, we found that as soon as we lay aside prejudice and expression and expressed even a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, here's the promise, we commence to get results. And aren't we result-driven people? Instant gratification takes too long, right?
Well, read the rest of it.
Yes, it says, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power which is God.
Hence the hams bear.
Hence the hams bear. Yeah. So we commence, even if we just show a willingness, we commence to start getting results. Perhaps results we never got before. And obviously, this lady had some willingness.
Yes.
So this is the part where I was talking to you about before we started, before we was on air. So I'd like to read 3 little pieces.
Yes, sir.
On both these pages. It's starting right where we left off, where you finished, Marv. And because I think people are really confused on this thing about your own conception. Well, it's about how you think, what it is, not mine or yours. And we come in here with some pretty strange ideas. The ham's bear. It was a good example. Really good example. I hope you guys hear what Marv is saying here. It's just wonderful. So listen to this. It says, much to our relief, we discovered we did not need to consider another's conception of God. Our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make an approach and to effect a contact with him. Okay? That's pretty good. Now, let me go to this next one. It says, my eyes, they're so bad. It says, but if we wished to grow, we had to begin somewhere. So we used our own conception, however limited it was. Next section. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderful, effective spiritual structure can be built. You got that?
Wow, that's a promise right there.
Talk about the grace of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. A wonderful, effective spiritual structure can be built.
So here's a lady that comes in, and she picks this ham's beer, and we all think this is funny. But see, she's got this thing going on. She might have some real contempt towards God. Maybe there's something that she's been hurt by or something
Right.
like that. We don't know. So she'll do the steps around that. If she gets into the steps, and she'll take a look at that, say. But what I'm trying to say is that she comes in, she believes that part, but it's a beginning, and then she can grow from that.
Mm-hmm.
If she's willing to go down this path and take a look at these things, you see what I mean? And do these steps. And upon that, a beautiful structure will be built. I actually was terrified of God and hated him, wanted nothing to do with him. And today, he's the most precious thing in my life there is. Nothing can compare.
Yeah.
You see, and I would have really sold myself short. And the reason why I'm such a so adamant about this thing, let's say, is because, see, that's the path I took. That's all I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? And sometimes I hear other people, and then I have to tell myself, well, the book does say we don't have the only way. You know what I mean? But I think the AA way is to do the steps and take a look at that. So I think it's beautiful. And I think if she can go to a place and people's not going to laugh at her and they allow her to be there and, you know, and somebody come alongside of her and show her these things, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. Before we go to our break, let me touch on there was a fistful of promises between that whole thing that Bruce just shared. This however inadequate, was sufficient, and this is highlighted, sufficient to make an approach and to effect a contact with him. There's a promise there. We began to be possessed of a new sense of power and direction. Wow. We found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek him. The realm of the spirit is broad, roomy, and all-inclusive. Well, I could camp out. We could do a whole show on that one because I think that's really misunderstood a lot. And so I'm not going to go into that today. But the realm of the spirit is broad, roomy, all-inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding for those who earnestly seek him. It is open, we believe, to all men. That is a promise that God loves all people, and he's open to receive all of them. That's a promise some people never heard. They heard things like, God will never love you. Look what you've done. That kind of stuff. We found ourselves accepting many things which then seemed entirely out of reach. That was a promise that came true for me. I was like, wow, I'm actually changing my thinking. Or I'm not changing, but God's doing it, but my thinking's changing. And then down to what Bruce was talking about, a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built.
Monty,
go ahead, Marv.
Can I say something?
Yep.
You guys are going to think this is weird, but as you guys were talking earlier, I'm sitting here thinking about something. One of the things that I've learned about training horses is to take the time. Don't get so engrossed in what you're doing. Let's say you're trying to get a horse to roll over on his hocks, okay? And you're so engrossed in what you're wanting that horse to do, you don't take the time to watch and see if the horse is really trying, okay? And one of the things that I've learned is to take the time. It might be a flick of an ear or a drop, their head drops or something. And as soon as you see that, you give them relief. You don't keep jerking on them or pulling on them or spurring them. You give them relief. It's a reward. And you try to do it instantaneously. So I'm coming to this point. Isn't that kind of what we see in the process, the hams bear, for example? Mm-hmm. That as soon as this lady says to herself, okay, there's a power greater than me, and I'm going to call it the hams bear, God gives relief. It says, okay, I see some try there. You're trying, and this is what I'm going to do. And he steps in, and maybe it's a healing of a relationship, or maybe it's a financial thing that helps them out. But something that God does to say, you got try and here's your reward. And that kind of brightens them up, and they say, wow, what's going on? How did that happen? And they keep pressing forward. You see what I'm trying?
Oh yeah, that is wow. That is, isn't that something, Bruce? That's. I love the way you put that.
Yeah,
God,
I think that is exactly right, and I think.
And the thing about it is, excuse me, Bruce, the person that's involved, whether it be any one of us three or a newcomer or whatever, at the time, it's always hindsight when they look back and say, wow, how did that happen? But at the time it happens, they don't recognize it. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, that is God's grace right there. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I just like to
I'm getting kind of excited here.
Yeah.
that is exciting. That is exciting.
And I wish more people would do that. And I see that what I like to do is, when I look at that, is I think our job, Marv, is to pay attention like you're paying attention to the horse.
That's what I was thinking, too. We need to be paying attention in order to recognize it.
A lot of power and observation.
Yeah, see, and what we do, if I have something, it's not necessarily my job to go to the rooms and tell this story, you know what I mean, to heal people. That's not what I'm there for. What I'm really there for is to learn to listen, for I can hear him or her, and then I can make an approach to them right where they're at. And they get to get the same comfort from that as you rewarding that horse. You see, but we don't take time to listen. What we want to do is talk.
Yeah.
See, and I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
I believe in Alcoholics Anonymous. I think Marv is absolutely right. His approach might be a little different, but I think it's absolutely right. And what I'm talking about is his way of describing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you're right, because we'll sit in our 12-step support meetings and be thinking about how we're going to put our sentence together to share what we think is so wise.
Instead of listening.
And sometimes to actually correct what somebody said, because we think we're the rescuer and we need to come in there and correct and straighten it out.
Instead of looking to see what we could do.
Instead of listening. And then we tell the newcomer to listen to the similarities, not the differences. But we forget that people that have been around a while, we need to continue to do that. It's for a different reason, but it's to be helpful to the person.
The thing I remind myself over and over and over again when I'm in a meeting is I'm there to be of service. And if I don't keep that in the forefront of my thinking, then I'm there doing all those things or trying to correct people or getting upset because they're not following the path I want them to. And it's just nonsense. It's crazy. You know, I'm there to be of service. And if I'm not listening for I can make an approach to the lady with the hams beer thing, well, then how can I be of help to her? How can I be of use to her?
Yeah.
I'm being selfish and self-centered and and prideful, and I'm a jerk. Inside joke, people.
On page 50, it says, there has been a revolutionary change in their way of living and thinking. Tremendous promise. They found that a new power, peace, happiness, and sense of direction flowed into them. Man.
New, not the old stuff.
No.
Yeah, not the drink or the drug.
Here's a really cool one. We hear people talk about this a lot. Wow, man, you got light in your eyes now. Brought luster to tired eyes and fresh courage to flagging spirits. Wow, you look different. Something is changing in you. You've got color back in your face. And may I suggest that many times this can happen in a relatively short period of time. We don't have to take a year per step. That just drives me nuts. These promises are amazing. At number 12 here, it says, he was there. That packs a punch for me. He was there. Talking about God. He was there. Or even more personally, he is here.
Yeah. You got to remember, though, Monty, that when there's people that come in there that aren't as hopeless as some.
That's true.
And the problem with you and me is we don't know who that is.
Right.
And if we don't listen, for we can hear the hopelessness in a person's voice, then we don't know how to approach them. See, and again, it comes back to that, is learning to be. You know what my sponsees did for me? They went out and got an active listening course off the internet and give it to me.
Wow.
Well, that made me sit right up and take notice.
Just the fact that they did that spoke volumes to you, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because I'm the kind of a person that likes to talk a lot. So I think it's really important to listen where somebody's at, for we could make the approach, and then we can determine on some sort of level if the guy comes in there and he's just been bruised a little bit, he can come to meetings and hang in there, and the fellowship will be profitable to him. But we're looking for this guy that don't know what to do. That's the one we're worried about, if we're killing people or not. You see, and we'll be saying, hey, listen, guy, if you want this, I'll help you get into a detox, and I have a solution to this thing. Because maybe he's wet. You see what I mean?
Right.
Maybe he's dried out, but he's got the shake so bad that people are taking it easy on him, and he just don't know what to do. He just knows he isn't going to make it. See?
Yeah.
And so we walk up to him and we talk to him, and we try to lift him up and assure him, and then we take him down this path.
Which is something that's been kind of lost from what I can observe. The we made the approach mentality, that seems to not be as much as it was. We kind of wait for people to approach us.
AA really grew, and it grew by leaps and bounds.
Right.
And of course, this thing, I don't think Bill and them recognized that was going to happen, that they were, all these people are alcoholics, and we all need help. It's trying to get, we just can't let there are people that just can't come into the meetings and do 90 meetings in 90 days and we expect that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then we get mad at them when they're not.
Yeah. See, so I mean, again, I think it's what we have to offer, and everybody has something.
We found the great reality deep down within us. There's another reference to the name of the show, The Great Reality. And this stuff that happened inside of me, that the Spirit of God was doing, that I really wasn't doing, that he was doing because I couldn't do it for myself, brought all sorts of promises true for me. It says, if you wish, you can join us on the broad highway. I didn't know I had permission to be part of anything because I had been kicked out of so many things. So that was a promise that came true for me. With this attitude, you cannot fail. We can do a whole show about what that attitude is that helps you not to fail. But with this new attitude, you cannot fail. That's a promise. The consciousness of your beliefs is sure to come to you. Even so has God restored us all to our right minds. Talking about the first folks in this thing. Wow, a restoration to right mind. He has come to all who have earnestly sought him. There's a promise. He disclosed himself to us. There's a promise. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Or in the first printing, who never have we seen a person who's thoroughly followed our path. I mean, these are things that happen as a result of experiencing this process. And again, they don't all happen necessarily with that step, but they happen as a result of putting this process. It's a process of action. It's a set of principles that are wonderful, but it's more than that. This whole thing is about helping us develop a relationship with this power to help us solve our problem. And I'm going to say this, and I said it off the air to you, Bruce. I'm going to mirror my friend Chris Schroeder. I truly believe that if you're in a 12-step support fellowship, I don't care what the name of it is, that isn't about helping you develop a relationship with a power, because this is about power now, then you're in a bad group. That's just my opinion. You know, maybe you're in the Boys and Girls Club or something. I don't know, but it's not the AA program that fellowship is fundamentally being founded on. If you're teaching anything other than learning to develop a relationship with a power to help you solve your problem, because isn't that the ultimate promise?
I'll let Marv go because I have something I want to say about that.
Yep.
Are you sure you want me to go?
Yes, you.
Yes, we want you to go.
Because I know we're just heating
We don't
up
want you to leave.
Well, with all these promises, you know, once again, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, you know.
Yeah.
But just kind of a little, this is just my own quirkiness, but I had a good friend. We rode horses together for years and years and years, and he was one of us, and he would not admit it. You know, and we'd time after time we'd sit by the campfire at night and talk and stuff. And one of the things he said, and this is back up on line 13, where it says, "We found the great reality deep down within us." Well, my buddy used to say that reality is a deception created from the lack of alcohol.
Yeah. I think I would have liked that.
He was a character. I got off base, but you know, and I guess at times I see a lot of these promises going on in my own life, and then it's like I told you at the beginning when I walked in. I just woke up this morning and it was darkness and whatever that word is.
Yeah.
Trepidation or just
it wasn't a life full of promise, right?
What's wrong, you know? And
yeah.
How am I going to get through this day and on and on? And so it's a mystery to me. All these things I know are true, but it's a mystery how my own brain can go off into left field somewhere and come up with all this negative crap.
Yeah.
You know. And so attitude, it mentions attitude in here several times. I probably got a bad attitude, just to be honest about it. Somewhere along the line. And in fact, line 15, with this attitude you cannot fail. Well, it's not talking about the kind of attitude I had when I woke up this morning, I'll tell you that.
That's right. Yeah.
And again, thanks be to the grace of God, I can come back to him, which I did before I came to town this morning, and say, look, you know, I'm losing the battle here. I'm failing. I'm missing the mark. I need you more than I need the very air that I breathe. And turn this thing around.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, that's good.
So
that's good.
So that's isn't that also kind of a promise? We can come back to him at any time, but we need the will to do that. We can't just run riot.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I don't know if I'm in tune with you guys or not, but that's kind of the stuff
No,
I'm thinking about.
I get it. Before Bruce shares, I want to say I had to do a little inventory on myself this morning, not wait for the end of my day. I felt like crap. this morning physically. And I had to stop and say, all right, what part did I play in feeling like crap? Well, I ate some stuff last night that I had no business eating. And that sounds like a real simple thing. But being a diabetic and stuff like that, Bruce, you can attest to this, that isn't a simple thing. I was at a place last night, a fellowship. It was healthy and everything else, and they had some food, and I fell right into it. And today I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, isn't it marvelous? Today I can actually recognize that. I do have a different way of thinking. I would have just said,
heck with it.
Heck with it.
Yeah. You know, it's no wonder the bigger book refers to us many, many times as sheep.
Yeah.
You know, I can really recognize that myself.
Sheeple. We're sheeple. Bruce?
Yeah, that I like what Marv said, and if you heard what he said is, I need you. I need some help. Well, I think that's true humility. I think that's when we understand what this is about. And I think the other side of that coin, and I'll give you a little quote that a guy I ran around with on the radio, and I just listened to him. I wasn't with him. Name is Vernon McGee. And he made this statement, Marv. He said, pride is an attitude. He called it an attitude that declares your ability to live without God. So the importance of that humility, you know, to recognize that we need something, you know, and go to God and ask him for help is what this thing is all about. It's about an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And my other way of looking at that, it's on the same line, is people come to me and they're mad with God. And I tell them, well, we're going to take a look at that down the steps. Others come to me and they say, I have a faith and I have a belief and this is what I want to live by, you know. And I tell them, okay, and we do the steps. Same process for each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to take a look at that. See, because whatever it was, it didn't work. But I'm not saying God didn't work.
Right.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
So we take a look at it. So it doesn't matter what they think. It's the same process that I take them down. And it's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then they get to take a look at it. And then people think we have 9,364 ways of doing this. And we don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we are different individuals. And your concepts and the things you've gone through, it's your inventory. You see that we're gonna do, and mine is tweaked. Looks a little different. Marv didn't come from the big city and have 7 sisters and 4 brothers and
sounds like a movie. You got 7 brides for 7 brothers.
But you see, so mine's going to look different, you know. But believe me, it's the same process, and it gets down to the same root cause.
Yeah.
See, that is in the nature of man.
Well, there you have it. A lot of wisdom from Marv R. and Bruce H., my sponsor, and the three of us together unpacking the promises of Step 2. Listen, you can listen to all of our shows by going to Blogspot. You can go to iHeartRadio. We're there. We're on YouTube. You can download our app on Podomatic. And you can access us on iTunes as well. Just visit us at take12radio.com, and you can access all those platforms and more to listen to the best in recovery talk and positive music. All right, until next time, this is the Monty Man, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty, 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 kitty.